The Trump administration's attempt to criminalize rhetoric just failed after a federal judge told Pete Hegseth that he can't punish Senator Mark Kelly over a video urging U.S. troops to defy illegal orders. Hegseth had sought to reduce Kelly's military rank and dock his retirement pay, but the judge called Hegseth's actions obviously unlawful retaliation and wrote in his ruling, quote, "As Bob Dylan famously said, you don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows." Hegseth is now vowing to appeal that ruling, but Republican Senator Tom Tillis is warning him what goes around comes around. He says this will come back to haunt the defense secretary once this White House is out of office. And Judge, is this the right decision from that judge who made this ruling?
Absolutely the right decision. And let's remember, too, that this is a Bush appointee. And so I am really pleased to see the independence of the judiciary. This is absolutely the right decision in this case. Now, they vowed to appeal, and so this is not going to be over, and we're going to see this over and over and over again. But the senator had, and the other people, the 5 people, 6 people in all, had the right to say exactly what they said on that video. And what they were saying is that you do not have to obey illegal orders. And there is nothing wrong with having said that. It is not a problem. And the judge did exactly the right thing in that case, and I'm very pleased to see that.
I think it's probably, look, I think it's fair to have a view that they shouldn't have done it, it was imprudent, it was unnecessary, all that is fine. But I find it fascinating that the Trump administration is expending all of this energy over this issue. They tried to indict the lawmakers and failed, which is, I mean, it's like a needle in a haystack. It's so rare. And now this, should they just drop this issue?
I don't think that this is a wise use of political capital. But I do have to say, in your introduction, you talked about criminalizing rhetoric. And I think a lot of Republicans feel triggered because that was essentially the case that Jack Smith had against Trump, was going after him because Trump said that it wasn't a fair election. So I do think that Republicans are very sensitive about this. But look, I think we should end. I think we should end the lawfare. I think Tom Tillis is right. Certainly Democrats started it under Biden. They put Navarro in jail. But I would like to see the Trump administration.
Okay, so
you can't compare
the two. Jack Smith's case was about the simple fact that not only that, but you had phone calls in places like Georgia where he would try to influence people, pressure people, and he'd say, go find me 11,000 votes or whatever it is. Jack Smith's case was about the fact he had classified documents in his bathroom. So Jack Smith's case was a little bit more robust. It falls out of this. What would be more in line is if...
A lot more robust.
What would be more in line with this is if Secretary Lloyd Austin, for example, tried to indict Tom Cotton. That is more analogous to what we're talking about and the absurdity of it. Because what I like to do with my Republican friends is I like to say, well, what if Barack Obama, right? And people are just outraged. Like, what if somebody else tries to do the things and to be a party that are such free speech absolutionists, to go out of your way. I mean, we've heard that all the time, the words lawfare and free speech and the First Amendment. But then to try to prosecute that continuously. Donald Trump is not necessarily it's not analogous to what we're talking about in any way, shape, form, or fashion. But this in itself, I think, should offend their common notions of what it means to be a Republican. But I guess what's good for the goose is not good for the gander.
Well, we should remind the audience that Pete Hegseth himself said this exact same thing in 2016. The video is up on CNN's website and YouTube.
Play it. Well,
let's take a listen and remind the audience. I love it.
I do think there have to be consequences for abject war crimes. If you're doing something that is just completely unlawful and ruthless, then there is a consequence for that. That's why the military said it won't follow unlawful orders from their commander-in-chief. There's a standard, there's an ethos, there's a belief that we are above what so many things that our enemies or others would do.
That may very well be why Tom Tillis is warning that this could come back and bite him. Because, I mean, if you can indict Mark Kelly or try to demote him over his comments, why wouldn't you demote or indict Pete Hegseth?
Look, let me just say this about Tom Tillis. I don't think he's wrong. But the counterpoint is that does anyone think that the Democratic Party is not going to seek prosecutions against Trump officials after they're out of office?
I hope
That's
they do.
this is my point. So my point to Bakari is like he is justifying exactly what Tom Tillis is saying, that the Democratic Party, just like they did last time, just like Tish James did when she ran for office saying, I'm going to get Donald Trump, I'm going to use the power of my office to get Donald Trump, we are going to see, no matter what, a number of Democratic prosecutions against Trump officials. Now, Judge, you said before you were very happy with the judicial system, how the judge, weighed the right way. This was a Bush appointee. Do you also agree that a non-Trump appointee in Georgia just gave the federal government the ability to seize 700 boxes of the votes?
It was a magistrate.
Yeah, it was a magistrate. First of all, it was a magistrate. And no,
So big difference, right?
Yes.
Yes, there is a big difference. There's a
So
huge
that part
huge
so
difference.
when the judicial system works
No, but
against
it's
your
just that
position,
you're not-
when the
No,
judicial
but the
system
two-
works
but the
not the
two-
way you want, it's different. We have to say it's different, right?
Well, no, but the two aren't.
I can say
you
I
know,
respect both of them. I can say I respect the judge because I kind of agree with what they did here with Mark Kelly. Can you just say that the judicial system probably acted in the way it's supposed to when a judge, not appointed by Donald Trump, weighed the evidence and gave a warrant to seize the documents?
No, that's a different
The issue
situation.
at
But
hand is
also,
Let the judge answer, and then we.
But also, I will tell you that there are different cases that come up, and I don't think that every decision has been a good decision in this situation. I think there have been some U.S. Supreme Court decisions that have not been correct decisions. And so for you to parcel out those two and try to compare them, no, we can't do that.
All right, next for us, a big question facing us right now. Should you need an ID or proof of citizenship to vote? The president is ramping up his fight to control elections in what's becoming the biggest political debate ahead of the midterms. We'll discuss.